leaders in the space that are making the most impact are the ones that study the platforms, they understand the communities, but more importantly, they have a commitment to a persistent sort of ongoing look at gaming. Biggest challenge is to really understand the community. You have to realize you're almost like a guest in their house. Younger generations crave a layer of interactivity in the media they consume. But we are moving into this world where most content will be collaborative in some way. Advertising itself is a bit of a necessary evil. It's how a lot of these platforms remain free. It's worked on TV, radio, and the way it kind of helps to fuel our world. It must have a place inside of gaming, especially as gaming becomes the mainstream entertainment of the future.
Hello and welcome to the Speakeasy, the podcast of Seg3. We're talking to innovators who work at the intersection of sports, entertainment, and gaming, the people who are shaping the culture of today and the culture of tomorrow. I'm very pleased to be here in Los Angeles with my co-host, Jackie Brasky, and our guest today, Nic Hill of Sawhorse Productions.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
And it's nice to be in your part of the world, Nic.
Yeah, LA. And I know you guys put up do the Seg3 festival, not only in Los Angeles, but also London. So welcome.
I'm still waiting for my London invite.
I've been to London once. It's or to the Seg3 in London.
Yes.
It's awesome.
Well, next time.
Yes.
So to get us started, Nic, for those who are not familiar with Sawhorse and what it is that you do and where you sit within this world of change, maybe you could give us an introduction.
Sure. So I'm Nic. I'm co-founder of the company and also the chief innovation officer at Sawhorse. And at Sawhorse, we're a creative agency that tells brand stories. So essentially, we are helping brands get their stories out in the form of branded content, like video. We've been doing that for a long time. And during the pandemic, we kind of expanded that capability into telling those brand stories in immersive platforms and immersive technologies. So we do a ton of it on Roblox, Fortnite, and then leverage other immersive technologies like augmented reality, Gen AI. So it's really about like leveraging more interactive ways of brand storytelling.
I feel like people always ask me how I got into innovation, because there's not something, a normal career path. And I find people are always asking me how I kind of found my way into this world. So I think it'd be awesome to hear your sort of story.
Yeah, I think, I'll think back to when I was like really young. I was a gamer, and I always loved playing games. I always loved also making movies with video cameras. So I just kind of came up in that time. But when I went to college, I kind of gravitated toward the film side. So it was back in those days, there weren't any UGC gaming platforms. Like if you wanted to get into gaming, you really had to focus on, getting into engineering or coding. And so I kind of just didn't go that route. But I went the film route. And it's exciting now because you have all these UGC gaming platforms where it's actually not that hard to spin up a team and like make an interactive game and launch it on like these platforms. So that's really exciting. So that's kind of like my connection of like interactivity. But I think one layer deeper is that the whole company, we started as filmmakers. I was an indie filmmaker, director, and an editor. And that was sort of the traditional film world, right? Making features and sort of competing with the film industry. But the way Sawhorse really found its success was in branded content. So this sort of emerging, innovative type of space that was coming about, where it was like brands are like, how do we make, short format, snackable content for this brand, leveraging these influencers. And it's not a commercial, it's not a produced full show, it's something else. And then we would find ways of distributing that across all these social platforms and gaining all this unique engagement. So that's sort of how our company grew. So even that itself was innovative or different, right, than the main. So I think that like when we got the opportunity to work on Roblox, it was the same type of thinking, which is like not creating content that is like stereotypical, that follows the way of the industry currently works. It's like leveraging new ways, new technologies, new distribution methods to tell these stories. So it was like a natural transition, I guess.
Yeah. I always joke my answer is it's a personality flaw. I get bored easily and I like to take risks.
Yeah. Also, maybe for me, it's like I'm a glutton for punishment. You know what I'm saying? Like if it's too easy, I get bored,
Yep.
or I just like to torture myself and make things more difficult than they need to be.
Yep.
But you end up making something that really moves the needle and is valuable. So
I
you
feel
got to
like
grind.
everyone in our world or who has roles similar to us, we all seem to have that deep down within us, which I think is a good thing, you
Right.
know?
Yes. It makes good art.
Exactly. And it makes our jobs fun.
Yes.
Yes. And we're torturing ourselves at the same time, without a doubt.
I know. It's like I talk to all the people that work at Sawhorse, all the different departments, because we're still doing a lot of traditional sort of video production work. And I look back now and I'm like, man, I don't know if I would be happy just turning out video content at this point, because we've made so many immersive experiences. And I think when you look at the concept of your audience and like working, reaching your audience, I'm not very excited about producing content that is not interactive. Like if audiences can't have a part in the co-creation or the conversation, it's less interesting to me at this point.
Tell us about this something different, this immersive experience. Can you give us an example of what it is that you're talking about so people understand better what it is that you're doing?
Right. So it's essentially right now, everyone wants to talk about like the metaverse, right? Like the metaverse doesn't exist. It never has. It's like probably 10 years or more out from existing. So we don't have the metaverse. We have UGC gaming. And UGC gaming is Roblox, Fortnite, Minecraft, Rec Room, Zepeto, these big immersive platforms online, 3D gaming environments where users can build their own games and they can hang out with all their friends and they can jump from game to game or experience to experience. Like that's what we have right now. And the opportunity for brands is you can enter these spaces and access this massive young audience of Gen Z and Gen A. And instead of like a commercial, what we're used to is like showing somebody a message. Now you can make that message interactive. So you can do anything from building your own brand world and creating mini games and like having them engage, the audience engage with that. Or you can do integrations where you go into a popular game that already has a ton of concurrent users and figure out how to creatively integrate your brand message into the core loop of that game. So it's really just about, these are new immersive platforms that brands can enter to access audiences.
Yeah, I've always said, working with a lot of, with the music industry, explaining that it's not just gaming. Like today's kids, like Gen Alpha and Gen Z to a certain extent, it's not like, oh, I play a game or I watch a TV show. It has to be all these things at once. Like they don't care what it is. They need somewhere where they can play a game, they can talk to their friends,
Yeah.
they can create and interact. And that's sort of that's how I sort of explained it, and I think it's resonated with people like, oh, that makes sense. I get that. You know what I mean?
It's like social gaming.
Yeah.
And that's what like a lot of older people don't realize. They think about gaming like the old console world, where it's like I would put on Mario or I'd put on this racing game. And like the only like inner like social interaction would be the person next to you with the other controller. Now it's like all games are live. They're all networked. So we're playing with people from around the world. But what's unique about Roblox and Fortnite is that it's you go into the platform and then all of your friends are there. You might all be playing different games, but you can link up and go to the same games at the same time. And to your point, some of it is competitive gameplay and others is just very social, just joking around, just talking, maybe trying on clothes with your friends and in this experience that doesn't really even have a core loop. That could be fun for a while. And then you peel off and you go play the games you want, so it's kind of unique.
But most brands must be playing catch up. I mean, if they're even aware of what these opportunities are or how these things work. What are examples of, if you could talk about them, of brands that actually have got it or have begun to understand what it is that they can do?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of brands have dabbled in the space in gaming in general. They've done partnerships with AAA titles. They've advertised inside of gaming. But I think the most, the leaders in the space that are making the most impact are the ones that study the platforms, they understand the communities, but more importantly, they have a commitment to a persistent sort of ongoing look at gaming, because you can make these sort of immersive commercials, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's like that's either an integration you do with one specific game for 3 weeks, or you make spin up your own world and you drive a ton of traffic to it and just design it to survive and be active for like 3 weeks and then sunset that. That's sort of like, without going too deep, there's a lot of that, and it still has value.
And those are like the two main options for people to enter the space. And,
Right.
That's what most of the music industry, most brands have done.
Right.
But have you seen an example of something that's been able to take off beyond one of those two routes? And what's that process behind
Yeah.
making a persistent game successful?
Exactly. So I think one of the big challenges is the commitment. So if you're a brand and you want to be inside of gaming and you want an always on presence, this community can smell bullshit. You can't just say, I'm great every day and show up here. It's like nobody wants to see that. So you really have to understand what the players are doing and how you can get this always on sort of conversation with them. So some brands that have done this really well is like Walmart, which is one of our clients. There's an always on experience, but also they do constant integrations into different games. So we partner with different games every single month, and we sort of integrate the IP seamlessly into those game core loops, So they're showing up constantly and consistently. It's a lot like social media. It's like brands have adopted social media at this point. They don't make one social post and say, look how great we are, and then they walk away. Like, it's always on persistent sort of engagement. They hire full-time people to manage those things. There's a handful of brands that are doing this on Roblox, for instance. Also, Elf Beauty is another great one. They get the space. They have the consistent sort of ongoing commitment. Lego is doing a lot of great stuff right now, doing consistent integrations. So I think if a brand really wants to capitalize on the opportunity, it's about building an internal gaming team, or at least a couple people that understand it, and allocating enough resources to like creatively show up authentically. And you know what? It's kind of hard to scale because that is not traditional media. In the traditional media world, it's like, great, here's a chunk of money. We're going to make all these ads, and then we're just going to distribute consistently every month. It's like, this is a little bit more difficult, but I would argue way more valuable. Because
100%.
unlike just seeing an ad and having that, I'm viewing it and judging it, you're showing up in these spaces organically and authentically, and your audience is spending 5 minutes, 10 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes playing or interacting with your IP. That's like way deeper marketing, in my opinion.
But the nature of the experience of the games and of that interaction can be very different, because games are not alike. I mean, it could be, you were saying, people just trying on clothes. It could
Right.
be playing something competitively. It could be something around music. It could be, it goes in lots and lots of different directions. That's a very different challenge, to be able to be present in all of those places.
Yeah. I mean, it's a challenge, but also an opportunity, right? Because if you think about it, like if you're like a racing company like F1, it's like you could just create F1 billboards and ads for the sport, and you can run those inside of racing games, or you can do really deep partnerships and integrations and figuring out how to get those cars into those racing titles. You can, for instance, like link it to races that are happening in the real world, model 3D maps of those locations, do updates in all kinds of different UGC games. And this is just super deep, very authentic type of marketing that adds a ton of value if you do it right. But again, not super scalable.
Yeah.
So you really need, experts inside of these brand companies, working with studios like Sawhorse and other top developers, to show up in ways that are creative and add value to the users there.
Yeah, and we've also seen, certain brands like NASCAR or NFL finding a football game or driving game and then going to work with them, which I also think is a really interesting route. You see a successful game, you're like, we should be in that, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? On a larger scale.
Two great examples there. I think one of the top racing games on the Roblox platform is Driving Empire, and we've done partnerships with them. We took the Lamborghini, one of our clients. We built a lab where you could race these cars, and then you can go into Driving Empire, and if you'd raced it in ours, you unlock it to be driven in theirs, which was awesome. And now, like you mentioned, NASCAR, they are another top leader brand in this space that has persistent, always on activations inside of Roblox, but also Fortnite, also emerging technologies. They're really like
I love those
on the
guys.
pulse. Yeah, Nick and them, they're
Yes,
fantastic.
they're I was mentioning this before. People who work in music, we're jealous of people who work in sports, and sports are jealous of people who work in music. And we discuss our various struggles. But I think we both have extreme fandom, but the potential to do stuff there is so massive that a typical brand doesn't have that same luxury.
Right. No, that's a good point.
Yeah.
What is a project that of yours that you've been particularly excited by that you'd like to talk about?
Well, I love all the projects that we
Yeah,
work on,
obviously,
with
Also, which is your favorite child?
yes.
Yeah.
So I have two and they're both equal. I love them both. But yeah, we work on a lot of awesome experiences, all kinds of innovative brands, with like leaders in the space that are like taking risks and doing these test and learn opportunities. But one I would like to highlight is How to Train Your Dragon with our partners from Universal. This started as a marketing activation for the new film that came out recently, and it kind of exceeded expectations. Like it overperformed, and it kept a lot of engagement, even though it was only designed to be played for 3 weeks. So we sort of changed that into a new opportunity, which was instead of just a marketing activation, now it's a persistent, always on game that is monetizing for the brand. So I think this opens up a lot of opportunities. When brands come into the space, they're thinking, okay, is this a temporary marketing activation? Is this a game that I'm going to be able to make money on? What can we do here? I think How to Train Your Dragons is a great example of like the best opportunity. If you've got IP that people actually care about and you have a developer who understands the space, strategically, not only can you get your promotion at a massive scale, but in addition to that, you can turn it into a game that people will play in an entirety that can actually, bring back some money or some monetization to the organization. The only tricky part there is, like I think we talked about earlier here, but is like you need an always on sort of engagement and investment. Like live operations that happen inside of these games are extremely important. And I think a lot of brands don't realize that. It's like they want to make their game, they want to launch it, and they want all this engagement forever, and they just want to walk away. And it just doesn't work like that. It's like, look at social media. It's the same thing. Like if you want to engage with people, it's the community. You have to feed them things. You have to listen to them and then co-create together. And then if you do that, you get the snowball effect. But most brands aren't ready to kind of go there.
Yeah. Working in the UGC gaming space, I've learned the importance of live ops.
Yes.
And I've always thought about like, how can a music artist use this as a channel to always be on? You have to make it a priority. I know you've seen that brands are starting to see the value and be like, oh, let's make this a priority.
Yes. So there's a handful of brands that are doing it because, a lot of brands will do one activation on Roblox and then they'll leave. And then like 6 months later, they'll come back and they'll be like, okay, we're going to do it again, and then they do this other activation. But I think a lot of them are coming around to seeing some of the leaders like NASCAR and Walmart and who else we talk about? Elf, for instance, and saying, wow, why they have always on an approach here. So I think the mindset of brands is starting to shift a little bit, when that's exciting. But I was going to ask you, like, from your music background, we had talked about this in the past. Why aren't more musical artists, having persistent experiences where they engage with audiences? And I'm not talking about super expensive, complicated ones, but even, Lady Gaga showed up once in, I forget what it was. Yeah, and had a Q&A and it broke the internet. Like, aren't there opportunities for bands and musical artists to kind of have some sort of persistent communication with?
100%, and you're speaking to the choir. With my PC responsibility, there's one big hurdle and challenge, which is music licensing, which is really complicated.
Break it down for us.
You got to pay me for that one. No, I'm joking. I think that's the one complicated piece, and there's solutions and workarounds and stuff for that. But I think, thinking about an artist, and I've worked in management before, artists have to do so much, and there's a lot of chatter and talk about how artists now have to be a social media star for their career to take off. And I think
so they're already investing there, right?
Yes. So artists, they have to tour, they have to create music, and now they have to self-promote. Now, there's a certain amount of art. I've worked with artists before. There's this one awesome artist. Her name is BK the Rula. She's a rap artist, and she's like, I effing love Roblox. Or like, let's do stuff. Like, so you got to find the ones who organically and authentically are into gaming and gaming culture. And those are the ones I think you should spend the time working on. Now, Lady Gaga or Charlie XX and Dress to Impress, those are going to go off like without a hitch. And that's a really cool marketing moment. And to your point, it's like, you know how to train the dragon. Like, I think right now we're still in that era. We're trying to figure out that always on approach. But because of the live ops and, you know, how an album cycle works, it doesn't work that way. My dream scenario is to have an experience with an artist, and I have one in mind, but I'm not going to say it, where it's multi-platform, and it lives in Roblox, it lives in Fortnite, it lives in Minecraft, it lives in whatever the hell Meta's building, and it's different, all pieces, and they all integrate and work. They all play off each other.
Yeah.
But if you just like one platform, you'll have the greatest experience there and really create something for a deep fandom. But you're gonna need the artists who lean in. You know what I mean? And be able to like release your music there first and think about, what do I do? You know, I do a lot of stuff with artists on Discord, and it's what do you get in your Discord community? Because that's your most active small community.
Yeah.
And then what's everyone else getting? So that's, sorry, a little long-winded.
No, but I just wanted to add on to that is that like I think we're moving into a world where a lot of these younger artists are gamers, right? Because young people are all gamers, right? It's like there's some massive stat. It's like over 80% would identify as a gamer. And so, you know, right now it's like a lot of the older people who are super established, like musical artists, filmmakers, you know, like all these people in traditional media, they're like, oh, what's the Roblox thing? I guess, you know, you figure it out for me. We're moving into a world where it's like, I played Roblox, so of course we need to market.
Exactly.
The key is, you know, we're like, I think within the next year, artist is going to break on Roblox. Creator is going to create in Roblox.
Well, we're already seeing like the Grow Garden is getting its movie, plus Jailbreak is getting its movie. Yeah. So it's IP moving out.
I was trying to have an artist and grow a garden, and it didn't work out. Not naming names, people out here. You know?
But you're even the term gamer, and we've written about this. Even the term gamer is becoming obsolete because we're getting to the point, the inflection point where everybody is a gamer, or has been, or is a gamer, and it will be a little bit like having a group of saying, oh, they're TV viewers. Well, actually, everybody has watched TV. So that's almost where we are.
Not even that. I think we're at the point where people don't realize how we're gamifying like airline points. That's gamifying. You know, your pack, everything, loyalty cards, all that stuff. So like, we're not that far, like, you know, and understand that everyone is consuming this material in one way, shape, or form.
It's a silly conversation that we're gonna stop having.
Where
it's like, because I think older people are like they wouldn't call themselves a gamer yet. Maybe they're playing Candy Crush, or maybe they're doing some gamification, like you said, with loyalty points, and they're like really into that with Starbucks or something. Yeah. It's like, it's just like you said, it's like a TV. It's like, do you look at a screen? Like, so therefore you're part of this club, you know?
You know, the complexity, you were mentioning that your dream scenario of these various games where you can be present. Nic, take us through how the reality of being able to do that. How complex, how difficult is it to say we're going to be in this one, we're going to be on this platform, we're going to be on that platform, we're going to be on that platform? I mean, what are some of the complexities, or how can you manage that?
Yeah, well, I think the technical side is not that hard because you can work with developers. You can build something from scratch, or you can build pieces and give it to an established game. The art is not that complex. There's tons of artists that work in the 3D space and visual space. You just need to be able to sort of knock down the quality a little bit because of the low art cost that's on these platforms. But I think the real challenge is understanding the community and building something that matters. And that's the biggest problem, because most brands don't have the experience and they don't really know what to build. And if you build something that they think is cool, without taking the community into account, it's going to fail. It's going to have a massive backlash. It'll be a ghost town, and it might just turn into a joke or a meme, which is like the last thing that you want. So I think the biggest challenge is to really understand the community. You have to realize you're almost like a guest in their house.
Yes.
You know, I use this example of like, if you were a salesperson and you were trying to sell, um, like barbecue equipment, right? And you went into someone else's barbecue, right? Would you just go pop up like a pop-up tent and just be like, I'm going to sell you guys barbecue stuff? Like that would not go over well. They'd be like, dude, get out of here, right? But what I think the equivalent to a proper integration would be is to like have that person go into the barbecue, go beeline it to the barbecue setup, talk to the person that's doing this and being like, hey, I've got all these extra supplies. Like this thing is busted. Why don't you try one of these? Check it out. I have some tips, whatever. And then hook up and feed everybody at the barbecue. Like that's how brands need to be like integrating into these spaces. They need to think outside the box, right? It's like a reverse way of thinking of like how you engage more seamlessly. A little bit like guerrilla marketing kind of, but for me, it's really about adding value, right? It's like, it's the days of saying your brand is the best and buy my stuff. It just doesn't sync well. You really want to get in there and be like, I'm giving you this. It's improving your life. Consider my brand. And I think that people go, wow, that's cool. I will,
It's a process of education then for the brands, for them to understand how this happens. What the question is, how many brands are reaching out, would you say, to learn more about this? And how much is it the other way around, where you have to maybe initiate conversations with brands saying, you guys are really missing out on something?
Well, thankfully, our business has grown and survived on word of mouth. So we don't do a lot of outreach. We get a lot of natural inbound. And I will say a lot of brands across tons of verticals are very curious. I mean, you can't, the data doesn't lie. Roblox has 150 million daily active users. You look at the attention economy and where are people spending time? They're not spending time watching TV anymore. There is some streaming, but a lot of it is on social platforms, social media, and now gaming. If you look at like the hours spent per day, Roblox is at the top. And then Fortnite and Minecraft and all these platforms and gaming in general. So they realize that they have to be there. So I think there's a big open-minded approach from my experience. All the brands that I talk to, they get it and they know they have to be there. But I think
they don't know how.
They don't know how. And so that's where education comes in.
And that's why you go to Sawhorse and hire them.
But isn't there I mean, let's look at the downside possibly in the future.
Okay.
Let's say that, these let's call it pent-up advertising demand or pent-up brand demand. There's a lot of it that's not in the gaming world. If that comes into the gaming world, how do you think it will change the nature of gaming? I mean, is there a danger that it's just going to become massively cluttered, massively over-commercialized, and that it will be spoiled?
Yeah, there is a danger of that, but I do like the competitive nature of these platforms because the best content rises to the top. And also the developers are so cautious about what is happening in their game because if they perform well, the algorithm picks it up, they get all the engagement and their game grows. If they start throwing in a bunch of ads, the community's not going to like it. Their game's going to shrink down and be less successful. So you're always competing with trying to make good content. That's the incentive that these platforms create. So that I have confidence that they won't be oversaturated, because what you're talking about is this dystopian world where you go into a game and everywhere you look, it's just plastered with ads. Like nobody wants that. There's not a lot of value there. Also, I think that there is a very real a possibility we could get the negative sort of standard mobile ad situation where games are free to play and then they're constantly broken up with these ad breaks where you have to watch the ad or you have to play the ad. But look, I mean, advertising itself is a bit of a necessary evil. It's how a lot of these platforms remain free. It's worked in TV, radio, and the way it kind of helps fuel our world. So I think it must have a place inside of gaming, especially as gaming becomes the mainstream entertainment of the future. I would argue that we have an opportunity for immersive marketing that is additive. Like I think we have opportunities to create it in such a way that it seamlessly is integrated into sort of branded content, into creative integrations, where all of a sudden it just feels more natural. It's more product placement. It's more additive sort of engagement, not this sort of stop and go, like, read this now, take a break from what you're doing.
This issue of trust, we had the issue of trust with the people that play the games and the developers, where they feel, this is ours, we want to do it in a certain way, and we trust, the way this brand is going to express itself. But also, doesn't it go the other way around, where the brand has to be able to trust the way that content is being created in such a way that it's going to reflect properly on what they want?
Yeah.
So normally, how does that balance work?
I would say we're moving into the era of UGC, which is a scary new world. Like brands.
Oh, we're here. It's not new.
Right. Well, I agree. Well, I think in gaming,
Yeah.
it's on
still
the
new,
newer
yeah.
side. But a lot of legacy brands who haven't really embraced social yet, they aren't that familiar with it. But we are moving into this world where most content will be collaborative in some way, right? And when you do that, you open up the door for bad actors. It's just the nature of the beast. There's moderation that will filter things out, but once you open up a conversation, it's a conversation. It's like going into a public place and propping your brand up. You can't protect a random person running in there and doing something bad. That's just the reality. I think there's a lot of positive sides of UGC culture, but there is some negative sides. So brands have to understand that. They have to become a bit more comfortable with that. Every brand's going to have different comfort levels in how they approach it, but it's just unavoidable. Like, you look at all of these lawsuits against Roblox right now about child safety and trying to make it more safe for kids. I know Roblox is doing a ton, more so than almost any of the social platforms that I talk to, as far as the level of what they're investing and how they're making moderation and trying to make it safe. But I think we're moving into a new world where it's like this open communication, this dialogue that is not fully locked down. I don't know. What do you guys think?
No, but like I think to a certain extent, a bad person is going to be a bad person no matter where. Like, is it easier now in this social media age and, where kids have fun? Then it's up, like, I don't have kids, so it's hard but to say, but like, you should have age restrictions, and it's up to parents, and it's up to having a communication. But yes, I think there needs to be a level of moderation, because Roblox, I mean, it's Gen Alpha. It's very, very young.
Very young.
So there has to be something there. But yeah, it's a tough one, and not something I look to tackle.
Yeah.
As an
Other than the
innovator,
professionals.
as an innovator, part of your role is thinking about what's going to happen in the future and where things are going, and trying to be able to predict where things are going to be in a couple of years and maybe beyond that. So what would be your big picture view? What would be the things that you're most excited about, or the directions that you think are positive in terms of where you are and where we're going?
Yeah, I think more broadly speaking, I think younger generations crave a layer of interactivity in the media they consume. I think that's just the reality. I think, like, thinking about how a bunch of kids are going to run into a movie theater and sit there for 3 hours, like 10 years from now, that doesn't seem like it's the direction we're moving in. Look at like what just happened with Netflix and Netflix games. Now you can, in between watching, you're now using your cell phone and controlling games on your TV at home. So I think that, like, the gamification of entertainment is only growing. So I think if you're a brand looking to engage and make, and reach those audiences in ways that actually are going to cut through the noise and resonate, you've got to be thinking in a sort of an interactive way.
Yeah, I want to take it a step further. I think it's also, and I think you're loosely highlighting this, is the participation. So now, if I'm creating or playing this, you're more incentivized to be loyal to that brand, or it's a music artist. Like, I always say, like, imagine if you were able to be the first person who said, I listen to Taylor Swift on Spotify, and you could prove that, like, having ownership in your fandom or your loyalty, you know what I mean? Like, I spent a lot of time thinking about that. And then there's a world in which brands could lean into that more in, immersive world building.
Like, what do you mean, like engaging deeper with?
Yeah, if you're playing a game, or if you're creating an asset or doing something and participating, you're more, I think you're at a high propensity to buy that product or whatever it is, you know what I mean? So I think it's like I think that's the part where these brands are just like, they are just thinking as like a marketing tool or monetization. No, it's like creating
engagement, fan engagement,
that
and
like
brand love building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a really tough one, but there's like a psychological side to it that I think people don't realize.
It's only getting deeper, right? Because it's like back in the day when we didn't have anything that was interactive, it was just top down. So it was like brands had to be like, this was my message,
Yeah.
consume it, right? Now you have social media, which is like, this is my message. Now I'm talking to you. And then you have a two-way dialogue.
You know, I think sometimes brands and consumers are giving the message and the brands get it back and then they know what to run with. Like, that's so cool. Like, you know,
but now it's like deep conversations through Discord, through communities. It's like brands having an always-on conversation, making immersive experiences, offering that to the audience, having them coming in and spending 30 minutes exploring this thing, building that brand love, you know, like that is such a massive opportunity.
Well, we're going to wrap it up there.
We could go for like 8 more hours.
Yeah,
keep going.
Yeah. I know. Thanks very much to Nic Hill of Sawhorse. Jackie, thank you for keeping this nice
Thanks
and
for having
lively.
me.
And thank you for joining us on the Speakeasy. And we hope that you'll tune in and watch the next one.